24 hours without movement, Xiao Zhan prays as doctors monitor Wang Yibo in silent room. The hallway was too quiet. Even the machines seemed to mute themselves. The air conditioning hummed faintly above the cold tiled floor. And somewhere in the distance, a nurse whispered to another about the man who had not moved in 24 hours. Wang Yibo was lying in the same position since he was rushed into the private ward. His eyes shut, his lips pale, and the slow rise and fall of his chest was the only sign that life had not left him yet. Xiao Zhan had not left his side. Not for a second. Not for water. Not for food. Not for anything. He had pulled a small chair beside the bed, placed his hand gently on Yibo's, and whispered the same words over and over again. Please stay. Please don't go. Please come back to me. It had all started that morning. The sun had barely touched the skyline, and Xiao Zhan was preparing breakfast while their daughter colored on the kitchen floor. Wang Yibo was in the bathroom longer than usual, and when he emerged, his face was pale, his steps uneven. But he smiled anyway, said he was fine, kissed their daughter on the forehead, and collapsed before he reached the hallway. The scream that left Xiao Zhan's mouth echoed across the walls. Their daughter dropped her crayons and stared, frozen, her lips trembling, not knowing whether to scream or run. Within 15 minutes, they were inside an ambulance, and by the time they reached the hospital, Wang Yibo's body had gone cold. Not lifeless, but still. Too still. The doctors were alarmed. They ran every test possible. They checked his heart, his brain, his lungs. But none of it explained why he had stopped responding. He wasn't in a coma. But he wasn't awake either. He was in what they called a deep vegetative state. Not unconscious. Not conscious. Just existing. And waiting. Xiao Zhan had heard those words before. From an older relative. From television. But never. Never did he think he would hear it about the man who once danced across global stages. Who once ran his fingers through Xiao Zhan's hair while whispering lyrics only they understood. Now. He lay silent. No music. No movement. Only machines. Only time. The doctors gave no timeline. Only warnings. They said that if he did not show signs of improvement within 24 hours, his brain could begin to shift into long-term shutdown. Xiao Zhan did not speak. He did not ask questions. He did not break. He sat from their early days. From the first time they held hands in secret. From the night they adopted their daughter and promised to build a life together. From the moment they stood in a kitchen and said, "Let's stop hiding." He told every story again. Because he had to believe Wang Yibo could still hear him. And when the nurses tried to bring him food, he shook his head and said, "He's still here. So I'm staying too." Outside the hospital, reporters had gathered. Despite the private registration, despite the decoy vehicles, someone had spoken. Someone had leaked. Someone who once claimed to be a friend. Cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. Even fans gathered in silence, holding placards that read, "Please wake up, Yibo. Zhan needs you. Your daughter is waiting." The security guards tried to push them away, but the noise seeped through. Even the windows could not block the pressure. But inside, Xiao Zhan's world remained still. A bubble of grief, of hope, of silence. Their daughter stayed with Xiao Zhan's older sister. She had cried herself to sleep, asking when her father would come back. And Xiao Zhan could only whisper, "He promised me forever. He never breaks his promises." Then he turned his phone off, blocked the world, and focused on the man lying in front of him. For 24 hours. He didn't blink without watching him. He counted every breath, feared every pause. He kissed Yibo's hand, pressed his forehead against it, and said, "You are not allowed to leave. Not like this. Not without saying goodbye. Not without one last smile." As the clock ticked past the 18th hour, A doctor returned. She spoke gently. She said. There was still time. But they were running out of answers. She asked if Xiao Zhan would consider signing early consent for extended care. Just in case. If the condition became long-term. Xiao Zhan stared at the paper. Then looked at Wang Yibo. And whispered. You've survived worse. You've survived hate. Silence. Loss. Shame. You're not going to lose to sleep. He did not sign the paper. At the 22nd hour. Xiao Zhan's voice broke. He had run out of stories. Run out of jokes. Run out of ways to pretend he was not falling apart. So he leaned close. And said the only thing he had never said out loud in front of a stranger. He said. I was scared. That night when we went public. I smiled but I was scared. Because I knew they would try to tear us apart. And they did. But you kept choosing me. I've never said thank you. I'm saying it now. Thank you for fighting for me. He kissed Wang Yibo's temple. And felt the coldness in his skin. When the 24th hour came. A soft alarm beeped from the monitor. Not an emergency. Just a system update. But Xiao Zhan froze. Because Wang Yibo's finger moved. Only a twitch. But a twitch nonetheless. He sat up. Held his breath. Then called for a nurse. 3 people rushed in. Checked the monitors. Checked his vitals. Checked his eyes. They whispered in tones too soft for Xiao Zhan to understand. Until one of them turned to him and said. He's trying. It's small. But it's real. Xiao Zhan did not smile. Not yet. But his chest lifted. As though air had returned for the first time in days. The next hour was slow. The doctors increased monitoring. The nurses dimmed the lights. And Xiao Zhan remained still. But this time. His voice changed. From desperation. To something else. Hope. He said. Come back slowly. You don't have to run. Just walk to me. One breath at a time. One blink. One touch. One word. And I'll be right here. Every time. By the end of the night. Wang Yibo had moved again. A finger. A toe. Then an eyelid. He had not opened his eyes. But the machines responded. The pulse was steady. The brain was active. It was not over. Not yet. And perhaps. That was all they needed. At 6 in the morning. Xiao Zhan finally leaned back. Closed his eyes for a moment. And exhaled. The sun touched the window. The world was still spinning. But inside that room. A silent miracle was unfolding. And he whispered one more time. You kept your promise. Now I'll keep mine. I'll wait. As long as it takes. I heard him whisper my name. Xiao Zhan breaks down as Wang Yibo fights to wake up. The silence had not broken. But something had changed. Wang Yibo was still. His body quiet. But no longer unreachable. The machines showed improvement. His pulse was stronger. His brainwaves were no longer flat and faded. They spiked gently. Like someone dreaming far away. Xiao Zhan sat closer than ever. Eyes locked on the man he loved. And for the first time in what felt like forever. He let his tears fall freely. He reached for Yibo's hand. Pressed it against his own face. And whispered. I'm here. I've always been here. Please. Just say my name. 3 hours passed. Then 4. And Xiao Zhan began to hum softly. A melody Yibo used to play when they were alone. No lyrics. Just music between them. Then. As the sunlight moved across the window. He felt it. Pressure. From the hand in his. Wang Yibo was squeezing back. Not hard. Not strong. But enough. Enough to shatter everything. Xiao Zhan gasped. Then shouted for help. Doctors rushed in. Machines began flashing. Voices filled the room. But Xiao Zhan didn't care about the noise. He focused on Yibo's lips. On the tiny motion they made. On the sound that barely escaped. Zhan. One word. No strength behind it. But Xiao Zhan heard it. Clear. True. Like lightning in the heart. He fell to his knees beside the bed. crying, laughing, unable to control any part of himself. Because Wang Yibo, the man he almost lost, had come back with one word. His name. News leaked within the hour. Someone in the hospital. A nurse. A visitor. It didn't matter. The internet exploded. He said John. Yibo is back. Miracle in room 32. Fans across the world broke down. Messages poured in. Candlelight visuals appeared outside the hospital. And in the chaos of attention, Xiao Zhan did only one thing. He turned his phone off again, sat beside the bed, and whispered, "We've done the impossible before. Let's do it again." Wang Yibo didn't open his eyes that day. But every hour, he moved a little more, twitched, shifted, breathed deeper, and Xiao Zhan refused to leave. Even when nurses begged him to rest, even when his own body begged for sleep, he stayed. Because love was not a performance anymore. It was survival. Later that night, their daughter arrived quietly, carried by Xiao Zhan's sister. Wrapped in a tiny blue sweater, eyes wide with worry, Xiao Zhan scooped her up gently, held her beside the hospital bed, and said, "Talk to him. He's listening." She stared at the man she called Papa, then whispered softly, "I drew you a picture. You and Daddy and me. Can you come home soon and see it? I put stars in the sky because you told me we shine better in the dark." And as if her voice touched something deep inside, Wang Yibo's fingers twitched again. This time more than before. A full curl of the palm. The room froze. And for the second time, Xiao Zhan broke into tears.